Emergency service received hundreds of calls when in the first hour, firefighters walked into the night and cleared fallen branches and rescued drivers trapped in flooding underpasses. Several metro lines were temporarily suspended as a hay appeal up on the tracks and Athens. Businesses and coffee separate losers and a witness capable under the city wave. It looked like a snow, but it was sharp ice, said cafe owner Luca Bianchi. We have never seen anything like this in October. Experts say that the storm reflects a growing patterns of extreme weather across southern Europe. Climate instability is intensifying, warning climatologist Professor Gianni Conte. Long location between the Mediterranean and Apennines make it especially vulnerable to these sudden events. A powerful storm tore through Rome, Italy late Tuesday evening, drenched the capital in torrential rain and battered with violent wind and hail. The tempest, which lasted less than an hour, caused severe flooding, damaged historic landmarks, and left thousands without power. In just 14 minutes, parts of the city recorded over 17 millimeters of rainfall, overlapped drainage system and transformed ancient streets into rivers. Cars were left standing near the Coliseum and Pisa Venezia, while torrents of water surged through the Trastevere and Prati district. It felt apocalyptic, said Marco De Santis, the shop owner in the city center. I saw lightning strike in the Tiber River and the sky turned and the electric white. The noise was differing. Authorities reported hundreds of emergency calls across the metropolitan area. Firefighters walked through the night, rescuing motorists, cleaned up fallen trees and pumped water from the underground garages. Public transport was heavily disrupted. Several metro lines suspended severe after tunnels flooded. Meteorologists blamed the event and the sudden Mediterranean cyclone intensified by unusually warm sea temperatures. This is not a typical storm, explained the Dr. Luisa Ferrara, a climatologist at Rome tour Vertale University, where witnessed more the aggressive atmospheric system linking the warm climate. What was happening once decade now happens yearly. Videos showed online showed hail of the size of a coin pelting the Spanish steps and lightning bolts illuminated the dome of St. Peter Balska. Emergency scenes echoed across the city. The storm cell moved through, leaving a trail of debris in its wake. Yesterday, Rome was hit by unexpected and violent hailstorm that transformed its street square and the ancient monument into a surreal winter scene. In a matter of minutes, dark clouds unleashed hailstones the size of a golf ball, torrential rain, strong winds forced residents to seek shelter. It was like a scene from a movie, but a horrible rare, and said Luca Bianchi, who filmed hailstorm, bridged off cars near Pisa Nova. People were running for cars and the cars were damaged before anyone could reach. The storm caused widespread flooding with the water pouring down Via del Corso and the side streets near Trastevere. Cars were submerged, basements flooding, and several trees were uprooted. Firefighters were reported more than 600 emergency calls, regional blocked cars, falling debris and power outage. The storm did not spur Rome's historic landmark. The Coliseum and Trevi Fountain were partly covered in hail, and St. Peter's Square suffered minor flooding. Tourists and local sought shelter were filmed video in the storm, which quickly went viral. Meteorologists explained the storm as a supercell phenomenon caused by the warm Mediterranean air colliding with a cold northern front. Venice, the city of water, was forced yet another violent test of survival. The powerful storm system swept across northern Italy this week, striking Venice with a torrential wind, hurricane-force winds and dramatic flooding that would reinforce over the city's long-term future. Overnight, thunder echoed across the lagoon with the wind gust topping 110 km/h, battering the ancient city. The down water level had stretched to 115 centimeters, high enough to submerge much of St. Mark Square and spill into historic buildings. It was a chaos, said resident Marco De Santis. The wind was howling and the water was everywhere. We couldn't ever open our door. Authority activated the most flood barrier system, the multi-billion-euro defense designed to protect Venice from high tides. But even this was engineering marvel struggling to contain the ferocity of the storm. Engineers confirmed that several gusts shattered minor malfunction, allowing water to seep into vulnerable zone. Local businesses are counting heavy losers. Coffee, art, galleries, and luxury hotels along the Grand Canal were flooded by the hour.
Andiamo dentro!
A sudden and intense hailstorm swept across Sicily on a Tuesday afternoon, leaving streets submerged, vehicles damaged, and residents scrambling for the shelter. Meteorologists reported that the storm was followed by the warm Mediterranean air cauldron with a cold front from the north. Pouring heavy rainfall, hailstorms up to Gulf both sides, and strong winds had battered to the island. Palermo, Catania, and Messina were among the hardest hit cities. Streets quickly flooded and traffic came to standstill, and a heat shattered car windows and dented rooftops. "I've never seen hail like this in my life," said Giuliano Marino, in a local shop owner in Palermo. "The noise was different, and water was rising within minutes." The Prati zone, Sicily Civil Protection Authority received hundreds of emergency calls for stranded motorists, fallen trees and damaged properties. Several small rivers in province overflowed, forced temporary evacuation in low-lying neighborhoods. Minor injuries were trapped from slip and hail impact. Agriculture area also suffered significant losses. Meteorologists attribute the storm to a collision between most Mediterranean air and cold floor northern currents, which create conditions to supercell over central Italy. These sudden connective storms can release enormous energy in a very short time, explained Dr. Paolo Rinaldi, a meteorologist with the Italian Meteorological Service. The storm also caused significant damage to agriculture in the Lazio region, where vineyards and olive groves were hardest hit heavy hail, causing millions of dollars in damage, according to preliminary estimates. Farmers such as Monaco Bianchi near Frascati described the event devastation as it destroyed two entire groves in a matter of minutes. Social media was flooded, with a video showing hailstones bouncing the historic moments, water pounding down the Spanish steps, and the residents wandering the frozen streets. Authority urged people to stay indoors, and emergency service working through the night to clear debris and restore transport. Experts warned that the storm this intensity may become more frequent due to climate change, with the increase in atmospheric instability and contributed to extreme weather events throughout the Mediterranean region. As night fell, Rome was transformed into a surreal scene, and itself monuments glistered under the layer of ice. Streets were littered with the fallen branches and damaged cars, a stark reminder and unpredictable power of nature in the heart of the eternal city. Violent storm struck Rome late Monday, transforming the Italy capital into a scene of chaos rarely widespread in the recent years. Within the minute, sky turned pitch black and the torrential rain, a gale force wind, swept across the city, uprooted trees, flooded major roads, and caused widespread blackout. According to the Italian Civil Protection Department, the storm formed over the Tyrrhenian Sea before slamming into the Lazio with unprecedented intensity. It was like a midday, said local resident Francesco Bianchi, described how lightning illuminated the street's landmark from the Coliseum to San Paletta Bellizia, and thunder echoed across the hills. Public transport was heavily disrupted. Metro Lane A was partially closed due to flooded tunnels, while firefighters responded to more than 300 emergency calls for trapped motorists and fallen debris. Rome history, where the culture turned into Russian river submerged cars on the window. Authority urged residents to avoid unnecessary travel. This was one of the strongest storms Rome has experienced in recent years, said Maria Roberta Giglietti, who covered in the emergency task force overnight, where coordinated cleanup operation and assessment structure damage throughout the city. Meteorologists at the Italian Airport's Meteorological Center attributed the storm to a sudden collisions of the most Mediterranean air and the cold front from the northern Europe, which formed powerful thundercloud over central Italy. The conditions were ideal for the formation of supercell, planned senior meteorologist Dr. Elisa Monti. Such storm can develop with a few hours and cause heavy rain in a very short period of time. Several days, including Austria and EU, received more than 18 millimeters of rain in an hour, a much worse than a rainfall in the Sydney evening. The deluge caused a temporary power outage in some parts of the city and disrupted train service to the Lazio region. A dramatic video appeared on the social media showing lightning strikes at the Coliseum, water following down the Venus steps in the residents, forming a human chain to help each other across the flooding. An unexpected violent hailstorm that struck Rome, Italy, transformed the city's historic streets into rivers of ice and a widespread of chaos. The storm, which erupted suddenly on a Monday evening, brought golf ball-sized hailstones along the fierce gusts of torrential rain for about 13 minutes. Communities and tourists were completely caught off guard. Social media flooded with the shocking videos capturing hailstones wildly pelting cars, roofs, and incidents. Couple of storms created scenes more reminiscent of winter blizzard of that October night in the Mediterranean capital. The city center, Corsa, and Piazza Venezia were temporarily blackened in white, with several vehicles seen standing black in thick layer of ice. Emergency service was stretched to the limit, responded to over 500 calls in just 2 hours. There were several minor incidents due to flooded underpasses, road closures, and slippery surface, confirmed Marco De Santis, spokesman for the Rome Fire Department. Dozens of fallen trees were reported, and power outage occurring in parts of Ostia and Montardeve district.
Questo è un grosso problema, molto grosso. Porta via il negozio qua, adesso porta via macchine e tutto.
According to Italy's Civil Protection Department, the storm was part of the weather system moving across central city, Italy, where warm Mediterranean air collided vitally with a cold front from the northern Europe. It was an explosive mix, said meteorologist Andrea Bianchi. The sudden temperature drop triggered intense convection, prompting hail and unusual sights of this time of year. Shops and restaurants in Trastevere accompanied for a separate flood with outdoor treacherous terraces and markets still destroyed. Several hospitals reported minor injuries, mostly from the people sliding or brain stuck in fallen debris. It lasted barely 20 minutes, said cafe owner Eliza Romano, but the damages caused local like hurricane airspace. The storm aftermath left Rome's historic landmarks cratered in ice and a rail out in size. Tourists shaped photos to Colosseum and Spanish steps, gilding the under street lines, and the city crews walked through the night to clear debris and restore normal traffic. Experts warn that extreme weather like this could become more frequent. Mediterranean storms are intensified due to climate change, said climatologist Dr. Lorenzo Conti. Rome may see more violent hail and flash flood in the recent heat. As a calm returned by morning, Romans awoke the melted hail and the city shaking, the yet another reminder to nature growing unpredictability. Meteorologists from Italy's Severe Protection Agency described the phenomenon as a supercell outbreak. While rare in southern Europe, such events are becoming more frequent. The contrast between extreme heat and a cold front from the Alps created the perfect storm, explained senior meteorologist Dr. Andrea Lombardi. This level of intensity used to occur once every 10 years, but how it happened every year. Severe damage occurred in rural area. Farmers in poor river basin reported corn, tomato, and grape crops crushed by hail. Some farms suffered total destruction just before harvest, with the initial estimated putting damage over 100 million euros. Luigi Ferrara, a farmer in Emilia-Romagna, said it looked like a battlefield. Everything we built this season is gone. Images shared on social media showed cars buried in a hail, roads covered in knee-deep ice, and rescue workers navigating parts of white like sky slow. In Florence, heavy hail following the hail causing into Arno River to temporarily overflow, flooding low-lying areas. Rome, Italy. Rome was thrown into chaos as a sudden violent hailstorm struck at the city, transforming its cobblestone streets into rivers of ice and leaving a scene of destruction and astonishment. The storm arrived without warning late in the afternoon, bringing hailstones the size of large coins, thunder, lightning, and torrential rain. Meteorologists from Italy's National Meteorological Agency described the phenomenon as one of the most intense collective storms to hit the Lazio region in recent years. Senior meteorologist Dr. Elena Moretti stated, "The combination of extreme heat and the sudden cold front triggered explosive atmospheric instability. Within the minutes, the sky darkened, and a hail pounded the city with a different force. Vehicles were damaged, white shields shattered, and roofs became impossible under a layer of ice. Fire departments received over 1,400 emergency calls, responded to rescue trapped drivers and pump out water from subway station and underground parking garage. Rome Civil Protection Agency urged residents to stay indoors and flash flood hits the San Giovanni Trastevere. Rome was struck by an unexpected violent hailstorm, transforming ancient streets into rivers of ice. Within the minutes, the Italian capital known for its warm autumn nights was pelted by hailstorms the size of walnuts created on unusual winter scenes of mid-October. According to meteorologists, the phenomenon resulted from the violent collisions between most Mediterranean air and a sudden cold front from northern Europe. These collisions swept the massive cumulonimbus clouds, brought torrential rain and intense hail accompanied by gusts reaching 19 km per hour. It felt like being inside an ice-filled washing machine, said the residents near Pisa, Venezia. Emergency services were overwhelmed by hundreds of calls. Firefighters rescued drivers trapped in the flooded cars, and subway station closed due to flooding. Major throughout the lack of cars and streets along the Tiber River become impossible. Rome is not structurally equipped to handle with the kids of weather, noted Luca Bianchi of the City of Civil Protection Department. Our system simply cannot cope with the sudden extreme rainfall. Hospital territory doesn't endure after slippery on frozen sidewalks.
I'd say so, Bob. This is a big storm.
Rome, a city more accustomed to the golden sun, said that the ice storm was hit by an unusual hailstorm that covered its streets and the thick layer of ice. The sudden downpour, which lasted then an hour, brought daily life to the southern Celt, forced residents and tourists to try understand the extent of the damage. Meteorologists' incidents confirmed the hailstorm was caused by the collisions of warm Mediterranean air masses with a sharp cold front from the northern Europe. Strong updrafts formed hailstorm the size of a golf ball, which damaged roofs, smashed shop windows, and left cars covered in them. It caused chaos and transformation. Several metro stations were forced to close due to flooding and major roads turned into rivers and melted slush. Emergency service reported rescued dozens of people trapped in their cars, while firefighters rushed to clear a fallen bridge and the restore blocked drainage system. In 30 years of service, I have never seen a room suffer so much from ice, said a fire brigade representative. Hospitals across the capital treated dozens of people who were injured after slipper of ice sidewalks. Tourists visited landmarks such as Pisa, Venezia, and Spanish Steps described surreal scene. We thought it was snowing, but the hail became so heavy that it hurt, recalled Anna, a tourist from Germany. Farmers in Lazio Public transportation was paralyzed, with parts of the subway lines A and B suspended, bases or rerouted, and the flights in Campino airport delayed after runway were covered in hail. More than 13,000 residents were left without power, leaving entire neighborhoods in the dark. The economic impact is already severe. Outdoor territories across Rome historic center were destroyed, and initial estimates suggest the damage could expect 15 million. Farmers in Lazio described the storm and destination. An entire vineyard and olive groves are destroyed in a matter of minutes. Experts blame a collision between humid Mediterranean air and an intense cold front. Meteorologist Elena Rossi noted Rome is experiencing storm weather previously unthinkable. Climate change is increasing both their frequency and intensity. Resident and shaken by their silence, cafe owner Marco De Santis, weapon broken glass, had the balcony said. The city was survived the Melina, but every year nature is harder. It is a weekend we cannot ignore. The land were deepened on the cast field destroyed it. power outage left more than 400,000 homes in the dark, and rail services were suspended and Palermo airport was severely disrupted. Businesses and county millets as losers, with the tourism, agriculture and fishing particularly hard hit. City famous citrus groves, olive trees and vineyards were flooded, raising fears to flood and shortage. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni declared flooding a national emergency, promising immediate funding to military support. "We stand with the Sicily," she said. European Union officials also pledged to assist with the burdens linking to the disaster and urgent need to action on climate change. Experts warn that climate change is intensifying on severe Mediterranean storms, and warning seas are contributing to more intense rainfall. Dr. Rilan Rossi, a climatologist, said, "What we are seeing in Sicily, a venial future is urgent action to take no taking." As the water began to resent, thousands of people forced to painful task to rebuilding, standing outside her destroyed homes in Palermo. Surveyor Rosa Ferraro said with the tears in her eyes, "The Sicilians are strong, but the storm was broken our heart." Sicily was hit a severe storm that swept across the island overnight, causing torrential rain, storms, winds, and widespread flooding. Palermo, Catania, and several smaller towns were worst affected, with the streets thrown into raging rivers, and entire neighborhoods were left without power. Residents reported panic as the water flooded historic city center. "It was terrible. In a matter of minutes, the water rose above the car's doors. We had to abandon the vehicles," said Salvatore Russo, the driver from Palermo. Emergency service carried out dozens of rescue operations, including rescuers, families trapped in their homes, and motorists stuck in the underpasses. Authority temporarily closed schools and government offices in several municipalities as prediction. The Sicily Civil Protection Agency declared a highest level of water alert. At least one hospital of Catania reported flooding in the lower floors, forcing staff and relocate pedant. The storm also dealt a serious blow to agriculture, damaging olive groves, citrus, orange, and vineyards were left to blackboard the island economy. Farmers estimated to damage of millions of euros, further complicating the situation in a region that already struggled with the drought to binging of a year. Flights to and from Palermo to Catania airports were delayed and cancelled, and ferry service between Sicily and mainland Italy was suspended to several hours due to rush seas. Meteorologists are linking this storm to a powerful Mediterranean cyclone, sometimes called the Vatican, from the form to the warm seawater full intense weather system. Experts warn that the climate change is making such events more frequent and destructive. The president of the Sicily region promised rapid assistance to the affected communities, stretching the urgent need to strategically flood protection. "This storm has once again demonstrated the vulnerability our island in us. We must do decisively to protect life and livelihood," he said. The Italian capital Rome has been stunned after a sudden and violent hailstorm swept through the city, pelting streets, monuments, and neighborhoods with the eyes of the sky of Ghost Ball. The storm struck with little warning, turning summer strikes into a dramatic clash of thunder and lightning before unleashing torrents. The rain mixed with hail. When the minutes rolled, turned it wild, resembling winter snow rather than a September evening. "I felt like the sky was exploding," said Marco Bianchi, a taxi driver whose car window was shattering. "I lived here all life and never seen Rome like this." Dozens of people were threatened to injure, many from flying glass and fallen debris. Hospital reported cases to shock and debris and brushes, where several children were taken with a head injury caused by the hailstorm. Emergency service received across the city responded to collapsing shops, canopies, damaged vehicles, and flooded underpasses. Tourists were cut off guard in a historic era, with doors around the shelter inside the Colosseum and St. Peter terrible sky and hailstorm battered courtyard and pieces. Social media quickly filmed it with the several images of the Trastevere fountain surrounded by the sky, with the local describe it into steam from another world. Transport was now into disarray. Rome's metro facing delay after water seeped into tunnels, with the traffic jam scattered into kilometers and the driver abandoned damaged car. Agriculture outside the city was also hit. The vineyard in Lazio suffered severe damage and the entire crew destroyed just a week before harvest, raising fears of million losers to the local farmers. Meteorologists explained the storm was fueling the unusually warm Mediterranean air classes the colder north front, creating the perfect conditions to the hail formations. Experts warning that climate change is making such extreme events more frequent even in the region accustomed to them. This is not the first time Sicily was faced with the wrath of nature, but experts are calling this storm one of the most destructive weather events in decades. The last such disaster occurred in 2029, where deadly floods and landslides killed 37 people in Messina, but this time the combination of heavy rainfall, wind and widespread infrastructure damage made the consequences even more serious. According to preliminary government report, more than 1,200 homes were damaged, 14 roads remain closed and 7 bridges have been structure damaged. Insurance companies are already inundated with the calls of many families without insurance to continue on compensation from the state. This storm was particularly dangerous because it suddens. Meteorologists issue a yellow alert just hours before the first downpour. By that time, it was too late many communities to prepare. Critics are now calling to fast weather warning system to better preparedness of natural disaster, especially in the southern region, which is often overlooking. Satellite images show in a grim picture. After the storm, Sicily emergency service remained overwhelmed. Over 315 emergency calls were recorded in 24 hours, and fire crews were sent to Cerrete, Ragusa and Argento to clear fallen trees, restore power lines and evacuate flooded buildings. Farmers in rural area report catastrophic losses, vineyard, olive grapes and retail, and citrus orange where other vital civil economy were flooded. This storm destroyed a 12-year war. St. Antonio Rizal, the farmer near Trapani, were in despair. The island's fragile infrastructure suffered serious damage. In the southern parts of the island, bridges in the rural roads collapsing, cutting off Smile Mountains town. In Enna, several landslides blocked all access roads, forcing helicopters to deliver supplies. Rescue teams, including the military, have been deployed to assist with the worst-hit areas. Civil defenders until have set up temporary shelters in schools and community centers of displaced families, many of whom have lost everything. Environmental experts warn that such intense storms are becoming more frequent due to climate change. Sicily Civil Protection Chief Fabio Crusoe warning about the increasingly unstable Mediterranean climate economy. warning from climatologists who said that the sea surface temperature, now about 27 Celsius, are contributed to the formation of more tropical cyclones now at the Mediterranean. Local media including Roberto Lagola of Palermo and Etnico Tragico of Catania have requested emergency funds of support from the national government. Cleanup efforts are ongoing with more than 1,400 civil protection volunteers and firefighters involved in the cleanup debris and drainage flooded areas. Environmental groups such as Legibird and Colson Italy in the speed up infrastructure urged, especially in the southern cities prone to flooding. Experts from the University of the Palermo note that 16% of regional drainage system are outdated or inundated from the today extreme weather conditions. As Sicily begins in a powerful recovery, the message is clear. Climate disasters are no longer a distant possibility. They are not happening now with the devastation consequences. Its depths disappeared under murky water. Rural Sicily was not spared entire. The contrast of the tempest of olive groves and vineyards were ravaged. The castles of Sicily, rich agricultural heritage, which helpfully to their fields were submerged, their livelihoods momentarily wiped out the storm war. The damage of the agriculture sector is cornerstone of the Sicily economy is yet to be fully equipped, but early estimates suggest a significant impact. The storm has also rekindled discussions about the climate change and the increasingly visible impact. Scientists point to rising temperature in the Mediterranean in contrast of more frequent and intense weather patterns. This storm in Sicily is not an isolated incident but horrible to changing climate in respect not geographical barriers. Amidst the chaos have been hearing displays of resilience and solidarity. Communities have together to support provided evacuation support to provide shelters to those displaced.
والله arabayı nasıl yaptı? Allahümme salli ala Muhammed ya Rabbi ya Resulallah.
In the second turn of event, Italy was thrown into chaos as a ferocious storm wreaked havoc across the picturesque landscape of Sicily and Rome. The unrelated tempest, reminiscent of a scene of Dante's Inferno, left a trail of destruction in its wake, testing the resilience of these Italian people and their determination of republic their beloved cities. Sicily, now in the straddling Mediterranean coastal line and historic curve, is almost hardest hit by violent tempest. The island, unusually a sure weather, were caught in the turbulent sea of fury, pouring the curse and related force. Torrential rain, accompanied by gale force wind, battered the region, caused widespread flooding, triggering landscape and uprooted centuries-old trees. Italy is facing a major crisis after catastrophic floods swept through the parts of the country, with Sicily and Tuscany bearing the brunt of devastation. Torrential rain over the past week was causing rivers to overflow, triggering landslides, and left entire communities underwater. The flood, described as some of the worst in recent memory, have claimed lives, displaced thousands, and caused widespread damage to infrastructure and homes. In Sicily, the latest rainstorm had left widespread flooding across urban and rural area alike. In the island capital Palermo, streets have turned into rivers, with the cars submerged and many residents forced to evacuate. Catania, another major city, has also been severely affected, with widespread damage reported in a historic center. The floods have overwhelmed the drainage system, leaving emergency services struggle to keep with the demand to rescue operations. Many people have been trapped in their homes and helicopters have been destroyed to relieve residents from isolated areas. Rome has been struck by an unprecedented and violent hailstorm that transformed the eternal city into surreal winter scene, shocking residents and disrupted daily life. Within the minutes, large hailstorms, some the size of walnuts, battered the capital, damaged cars, broke windows, and blanketed ancient streets in white. The storm hit late in the afternoon, following days in unusual warm weather. Meteorologists from Italy's Civil Protection Department described the event as sudden and extreme, with intense rainfall and temperature drops of nearly 10 Celsius under an hour. It was one of the most intense connective storms we've seen over Rome in a year, said meteorologist Alicia Romano. Social media quickly filled with dramatic footage showing torrents and ice and water cascading down the city capable alley, with the Trastevere and Prati districts drains overflowed, turning roads into river and slush. It was terrified, said local resident Marco De Santis, and was hit at the heart where it felt like a window were going to explode. This is type of extreme weather event conditions that are becoming more frequent due to the climate change, said Dr. Giulia Ferraro of the Italian Meteorological Agency. Authority warning that there could be more unstable weather in the coming days and urged residents to avoid travel unless necessary. Major Roberto Giuliani promised quick cleanup and infrastructure improvement to better protect city. Social media was flooded with the images of streets covered in hail, broken widespread, and flooded alleys. Stark a reminder whether even cities of thousands of years of history are vulnerable of the sudden fury of nature.